President Trump giving a rock star commencement speech at the University of Alabama, imparting his pearls of wisdom to the class of 2025 and hailing them as the lucky first graduates of the golden age.
You've done a lot of winning. Winning is a good thing to do. But today I'm also asking you to look forward to really something very, very bright and more promising. You're the first graduating class of the golden age of America. It is clear to see the next chapter of the American story will not be written by the Harvard Crimson. It will be written by you, the Crimson Tide. In America, we reject that idea that anyone is born a victim. Our heroes are the ones who take charge of their own destiny, make their own luck, and determine their own fate despite the odds. You're one of a kind, so don't try to be someone else. Just be yourself.
President Trump was also spicing things up with some of his classic rally zingers.
Elon is so terrific, but I know now all of them, they all hated me in my first term, and now they're kissing my ass, Do you ever? It's true. You ever see the weightlifting? Where they have a record that wasn't broken in 18 years? And they have. Should I imitate it? My wife gets very upset when I do this. And she lives, and she gets it. And, Mom, I'm going to do it, Mom. Can't do it. He had a wife, I must tell you, it was a second wife. It was a trophy wife. What can I say?
Oh, boy. All right. You know what? If anyone can deliver a message and mesmerize a crowd, it's Donald Trump. And he knows how to work a crowd when he talks about, should I say it? My wife doesn't like when I say it. What do you think, Martha?
Well, I was watching some of the other networks talk about this today, and they were saying, where was the commencement speech? They only played that stuff. There was no commencement speech. And then listening to the top of what we just played, there was absolutely a commencement speech message in there. He's saying, if you go the safe route, don't go the safe route. If you want to go to the top, you're never going to do it unless you break the system. I mean, it was very, I think that, some people might like it, some people might not like it, but the message was clearly merit is what wins. Be bold. Don't sit back. Be part of this next generation. We reject the idea that anyone is born a victim. Our heroes are the ones who take charge of their own destiny, make their own luck, determine their own fate despite the odds. And then he encouraged them to build things. Don't just build a portfolio. Go out there and build buildings, build manufacturing sites. And so I think the message was very clear. I also think that you look at the message about the Ivy League, and the next leaders are not going to come from Harvard, from the Harvard Crimson. They're going to come from the Crimson Tide. We see this. We see people across the country disappointed with the Ivy League universities. People who went there disappointed by them. So they're looking for these other schools, and they're seeing that you can get a great education and that you can do something bold going to these other schools. I think it's a very weak moment for Harvard and the others. And there's a lot of alumni who are not going to send them money anymore. And Trump's trying to break them.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought there was a lot of commencement inspiration in there if you looked for it.
The president's speech, Jesse, was very optimistic. It was very promising. He talked about these young graduates being the greatest generation of America. But I want you to listen to this sound of Joe Biden's last commencement speech.
Well, that's my commitment to you, to show you democracy, democracy, democracy is still the way. If black men are being killed in the street, we bear witness. For me, that means to call out the poison of white supremacy, to root out systemic racism.
Sense of difference?
Yeah, so usually when you're at your graduation ceremony, you have your parents, you have your grandparents, you have your family there. Do you want to hear the speaker talk about racism and how you can't do things and how you're fighting white supremacy? Absolutely not. When I graduated by the skin of my teeth, because I was checking to see if there was actually a diploma in there, we had Joe Lieberman as my speaker. Yeah. Not as charismatic, but the message was good. Solid. And it was a similar message to Donald Trump. And you're right, Martha. For me, I took away it was about competition. And he mentioned the fact that Barack Obama, Hussein Obama, told him at the Correspondence Center, Donald Trump's never going to be president. And there's a lot of teams that during the week, if an opposing team says something derogatory about you, they'll put the quote up in the locker room and everybody will look at it before they go out into the practice field. And it's motivation fuel. And he took that fuel and he ran with it and became president not once, but twice. About a year and a half ago, Gutfeld said, Jesse Waters is boring.
That's true, I did.
I plastered it above my door in my office, and every time I walk to hair and makeup, I see it, and he motivates me. The Harvard Crimson Tide thing, Kevin O'Leary says he doesn't hire people from the Ivy Leagues unless they played sports because they're just toxic, and you can't trust them. And so Jesse Waters is now doing early decision, Crimson Tide. We're not doing Ivies anymore. And that's not just because he's not doing well so far in pre-K. It's just because I want to go to a school with nice weather, good football team, good values, and I think there should be attractive women there. From what I've heard, there's very attractive women. We're actually having 2 Crimson Tide grads on the show tonight at 8.
And they're both women, I
I don't know if they're women or not. I haven't checked.
All right. Do you want to respond to what he said?
I am disgusted by everybody here. When he was doing this thing, clearly he was mocking a disabled reporter. And we're going to hear about that Monday on Morning Joe. You're right, though. That happened at the University of Alabama. Good for the University of Alabama. It's a great advertisement for them. This is why a lot of students are going south. They're seeing all the southern universities are getting more people. And what a contrast. What did we see this week? Kamala babbling about pachyderms, Tim Walz spouting queer studies lingo like code talk and performative structure. Meanwhile, here's a guy who happily speaks the truth, and he's willing to bear the risk and whatever consequences his words bring. You know, it would have been nice if a Democrat could do that. They could have been honest and blunt. They had plenty of time about Joe Biden, about trans, about the border, about crime, but instead they hid themselves behind the science of identity politics and the rhetoric, that dumb rhetoric that Walz uses. Trump didn't just set the bar for presidents and leaders. He burned it. He set it on fire. Then he built a new bar. It's no longer about politics. It's about persuasion. It's no longer about us versus them. It's about us first. It's about transparency versus cover-ups, bluntness versus jargon. The guy won't kiss babies and he won't kiss asses. But more than anything, he makes us laugh. And unlike Biden, it's with him, not at him.
Would you like to wrap it up, Harold?
Sure. I thought any student in the country who has an opportunity to have the President of the United States speak at his or her commencement, college, high school, law school, medical, whatever it might be, it's a blessing, and I hope that those at the University of Alabama realize how fortunate they are. I thought the speech was typical President Trump. I would have probably done it a little differently. I differ with those around the table about what he talked about with Harvard and Alabama. I understand some of the cute politics at the moment, but great graduation speeches and commencement addresses never pit Americans versus Americans. You can talk about the higher ideals, and you can talk about the hard things we have to do as a country. I would love the president to have said, look, you graduated at a time at the beginning of my new golden age, and there may be some challenge and difficulty, but there's been challenge and difficulty in our country in the past, and we've overcome it. I'd have talked about the new sources of energy that this group is going to have to deal with, produce for us, new cures and new therapeutics and new innovation that they will be at the forefront of. So I would have challenged him a little differently. I just don't think you pit people against one another. Well, let me just finish. But if I were graduating, I know the West Point grads are going to have an opportunity to hear the president. That's something you would always want and always treasure, knowing that he was your commencement speaker.
So when Biden pit Americans against Americans, you didn't like that either.
Judge, I'm consistent. I call balls and strikes. I don't.
Yes.
I didn't, and I don't now.
Thank you. Ahead, Elon Musk and the Doge Boys will blow your mind with the billions of wasteful crap they've exposed. Jesse has the scoop.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.